Órale, Cholo, Trucker Moss movies and shows. And here we got Killer Inside, the mind of Aaron Hernandez. Okay, man. So this sucker came out back in 2020. And I remember hearing about it and people telling me like, hey man, it's actually pretty good. And that was quite a few years ago. And I'm like, all right. I just thought to myself, I'll get around to it. And I never really did. I remember saving it on Netflix to watch later, and it just sat there. It really did. It just sat there. There was probably about two times where I was like, where I had time on my hands, and I remember going through my stuff in Netflix and seeing it, and I'm like, ah, not really in the mood right now. I'll watch it another day. And that was probably like, gosh, like 2 years ago or something. But anyway, I went ahead and made the time to watch it again. I know I'm on a late train here. It is it's 3 episodes long. Okay. So let me go ahead and tell you guys this, man. I completely hated the New England Patriots team that Aaron Hernandez was on. I'm a Steeler fan. That's when the Patriots were on top. I mean, good gosh, they couldn't do anything wrong, man. Son of a bastard. The only Achilles heels that they had was Eli Manning from the New York Giants. But outside of that, I was like, okay, I wasn't as invested in his story. I thought it was somewhat interesting. I found it somewhat interesting. I'm like, okay, hey, he went down. But I didn't know all the details, honestly. I wasn't glued to the TV. I wasn't, it wasn't like the OJ Simpson thing. Um, to me, I was just like, okay, I heard a little bit here, I heard a little bit there, and honestly, I thought he was just in there for one murder. Honestly, I was like, oh, okay, oh, he was a gang member. Oh, okay, got you. All right, cool, whatever, so be it. And that was just that. Watching this thing, and then I did hear about, hey, he could have been gay. There's rumors about him being gay and, a lover that he had when he was incarcerated and stuff. I'm like, oh, wow, man. So, watching this, um, I was going to break it down episode by episode, but no, I ended up binge watching it all. Um, I'll tell you guys this. The first episode is really capturing. It really is. I mean, it got me. I'm like, okay, I got to watch the rest of this damn thing now. The second episode I thought was a little bit dry, not a lot going on there. The last episode was probably just as good as the first. So basically, like I said, I didn't know much of Aaron Hernandez. I didn't know where he went played in college. I didn't know he played with Tim Tebow. I didn't know any of that stuff. Um, but yeah, pretty much it starts with him, with the murder of uh of the one individual. And good gosh, I forgot their names, but it's tragic, man, because you do see their families on here. And it's like, okay, you know, and then it goes back, talks about his dad from Puerto Rico, um, how he was pretty tough, and he looked like he had a little bit of a drinking problem and being abusive at times. And as the documentary goes on, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, I'm trying to match things up. I'm trying to put pieces together of the puzzle that I remember vaguely hearing of what was going on when it was actually happening. And I didn't know he had a second of, or he had another place of residence. I didn't know he had an apartment. It's pretty good, man, on just how addicted he was to weed. He was like, I guess he was such a huge pothead because it just seemed like every time he turned around, they were just talking about him smoking weed. Like, wow, man. I'm like, oh, all right. The the buddy that he had, that was there that told the story of him and Aaron having a sexual relationship when they were young, when they were kids. That was, a little groundbreaking as well. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And then his brother, Aaron Hernandez's brother, talking about, hey, I know that he was sexually molested when he was a kid, right? There's the whole closet story that is revealed here, playing hide and seek and him being in the closet. And, a couple of, it was just such a good, eye-opening um, documentary, especially for somebody like me who, like I said, I didn't pay attention too much while it was actually happening. Um, it makes me look at it a little bit differently. And, like this guy, he's married. I mean, he's married. He has a daughter. He's young. He committed suicide when he was 23 years old, incarcerated. And like I said, because I didn't really pay too much attention of what was going on, um, I did not know that he had to go to court again for the murder of two other guys. Now, I did hear that, hey, this guy was getting away with a lot of things back when he was in Florida, when he was with the Gators. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, I guess so. So they do kind of touch on that. And not only do they touch on that, but they kind of insinuate that there might be some dirty stuff going on with colleges, especially in some of these college towns where the sport football means everything to that town. I live out here in Los Angeles, man. I don't think there's any college. I don't think like USC or UCLA is going to be doing anything like that because it's not a college town. But you go to some of these other places, man, where college is like, good gosh, it's like the religion. Yeah, we're like the whole town, the whole city. That's what it's all about, man. Their whole lives revolve around, college football. So I'm like, yeah, yeah, I guess I could see that where they're, really trying hard to keep things under wrap of what he was into, while he was down there, and they have some former teammates of his. They the other football player, I forgot his name, who actually is gay and said his whole time in the NFL, he just played it off like he wasn't. The reason why he gained weight, the reason why, he came out and said, look, that he was just going to keep playing football. And then when football is over, that maybe he might just kill himself. Right. Um, it was a damn interesting documentary. Now, I will say this. I will say this. It was a little slow at times. It did, it did lose me a few times, especially the second episode. But it did lose me a few times where I'm like, okay, like I don't know, man, I'm getting a little bit bored, right? So it's not the best documentary, but it was interesting. And then the CTE, when that came back, how the doctor said, like, hey, this is the worst CTE we've seen. And with a player his age or a person his age, because I think he was 27. Okay, so he was 23 when he got incarcerated. He was 27 when he killed himself. All right, now that I got that straight. Um, so it was like, oh, okay. I mean, did that have a little bit of a role in this? I mean, I guess you could just throw that in the ingredients, but this guy was already screwed up. He was already screwed up. He was already jacked up, man. And he had a lot of things going. He was abused, or his father was abusive. Um, he was sexually molested. Whether that's the reason he turned gay, did it mess with his sexuality like that? Don't know. You throw in the head trauma, and just him, for whatever reason, just making bad decisions, man. You got all these ingredients that you throw on, and this dude seemed like he had a pretty good lengthy history of getting involved in things like this. So, he almost seemed like he wanted to be, um, an NFL star at the same time, slash part gangster. But the people that they had on this documentary, I could really appreciate it. They're, they had the victims. They had some of their people on there. It was good, man. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I really did. Like I said, it's not the best documentary though, because at some time it did get pretty dry. Different patches of this documentary did get pretty dry, and it's like wow. And then the relationship that he had with his mother was like, wow, man, that's supposed to be your mom? This is kind of crazy, man. Like, yeah, this guy, he wasn't all right in the head. When you see the relationship that he has with his mom and everything, it's like, yeah, man, this dude, something definitely was off with this guy, man. But look, very tragic, very tragic. With the victims, and who knows what else he was involved in. As they pointed out, there was something else that went down in Florida that fit the description of Aaron Hernandez, but they can't prove it. And I mean, so much more, man, that it's like this guy was living a life of crime. Wow. And what's crazy is, like I just said, I didn't follow Aaron Hernandez or anything, but uh, who is it? Maria Menounos, I think, was interviewing him, and it showed the interview where she's asking him, like, "Hey, what do you do for the Latinos, the Hispanic community? How do you give back?" And he, he's there talking with a straight face, talking about like, well, I just want to be a good role model. There's not a lot of Hispanics, there's not a lot of Latinos in the NFL, so I just want to be a good role model and steer them in the right direction. And it was like, wow, man, damn. And it's true, me being Hispanic slash Latino, whatever it is you want to call this, right? Yeah, man. I mean, there's little to no Latinos, Hispanics in the NFL, man. Yeah, I love the sport. And would it be cool to see Latino, Hispanic in the NFL or more of them in the NFL? Absolutely. And he was one that stood out to me, but he just happened to play for a team that I freaking hated, especially at that time. There was no other team in any other sport that I hated more than the Patriots. Had he been in any other team, I might have made at that time, I might have paid attention to him more, but and rooted for him a little bit more just for that reason, for the him being Hispanic. But yeah, no, I couldn't, man, because he was with the Patriots, and good gosh, I hated the Patriots at that time. But nonetheless, man, hey, man, you know, it was above decent documentary. I'll put it to you guys like that. Is it worth watching? If you're not interested, then maybe not. Um, if you are interested, chances are you probably already seen it. But if you got the time, I guess it's 3 episodes. They're all about 50 minutes each. But yeah, it was all right. It was all right. That was Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez. Solo Trucker, Moss Movies and Shows. Catch you guys on next.